Hello and welcome to the BucketLister Podcast. Join your host Keith Crockford, along with special guests who have travelled the world, here to share stories of their adventures and plenty of inspo to add to your bucket list. Now, let's get into today's episode.
Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of the BucketLister Podcast. Today I am chatting with Rory, and it's a little bit of a different podcast this week, and I've known Rory for some time now, and Rory is the founder of the outdoor and travel lifestyle brand Dewerstone, which funnily enough is based just down the road from me in Devon. So hello Rory.
Hey Keith, thanks for having me.
No problems at all. So I thought it'd be great to get Rory on. Like I say, I've known Rory for some time. He now owns this amazing lifestyle travel brand. And I just thought it'd be great to know the history of where that came from and why you suddenly set up a travel brand, really, Rory. So take it away. Where did it all start from?
Cool. So for me, it started when I was 17 years old, didn't really know what I wanted to do. Didn't really feel that the university path was for me. I wanted to take some time and figure out what to do. And so just as I turned 18, I went to Argentina and I went skiing. I spent a season out there, did all my instructor qualifications. And then from there, I was already in love with skiing and just went on to do back-to-back winters, South America, North America, New Zealand, North America, a little bit in Europe. That took me to some amazing places. Love of travel, love of everything outdoors, love of the mountains. And then from there, I went on to work for a ski boot company. I worked for them in America, also in London, a little bit in Europe. And then after a little while, I moved to Devon for a bit of a change of pace, change of scenery, worked for a canoe and kayak company. And then after a little while, having sort of made my own base on Dartmoor, I then set up Dewerstone, essentially in my dining room and garage. And that's where sort of my love of Dartmoor and the outdoors and business and wanting to do my own thing kind of spawned and came together in this garage from this house that was stone's throw from Dewerstone Woods, Dewerstone Rock, and the river Plym and the whole of Dartmoor.
Yeah, so just to put that into a bit of perspective, like Dewerstone, I suppose, I grew up in Plymouth, which, on a weekend, I used to cycle my bike to go climbing in Dewerstone because I didn't have a car and it was the easiest place to go climbing to. So it's kind of a bit of a mecca on Dartmoor for climbers, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I think I love that. Most about the name is it's an actual place. You can go to it. I always talk about it as, Dewerstone Woods is a gateway to Dartmoor for so many people. You can go for walks, hikes, there's kayaking, there's climbing, there's the Dewerstone Crag. So there's great outdoor climbing. The River Plym is a technical grade 5 river, but the top section and the lower section are paddled. They're lower grades and they're paddled quite regularly. But it is that gateway to the moors. It's where loads of people have their first outdoor climb, and you can really start to experience Dartmoor from there, which is why it's why it's so special to me.
And what made you think I'm going to set up a clothing brand? What popped into your head with that? Where did that actually come from?
Honestly, I thought I could just buy some screen printing things and start printing T-shirts in the garage. It seemed like a great idea. I'd seen some people online do it. I chatted to some people who have businesses and they were like, oh, you could do that. And it just seemed, setting up a T-shirt brand or a clothing brand seemed achievable to me. And it entirely, I think, it is to a certain extent. You can start to screen print in your garage and you can go from there. And that for us spawned, the nice thing was I had some good connections. I could get us into some retail stores. And that we had that kind of that brand name and that kind of thing going on from the start.
And did you ever think about it as a way to allow you to keep traveling? Was that kind of, now you've got stores, you've got everything there, but when you first started, was it I need something that allows me to keep doing what I want to do?
From a perspective of being involved in the outdoors community, so by running an outdoorsy brand, it means I could be doing things like going kayaking, or it could be involved with the bouldering community, involved with the outdoors community, and that's what it really allows me to do, is to have that connection to the industry that I love. part of that is traveling, whether that's going to a factory overseas, whether that's going out to our new store in the Gili Islands, or going to various events. Running a brand and a business does allow travel, and as Dewerstone's grown, it's given me more of that, whether it's events, factories, all kinds of things, and that's a really great part about it.
And so you started with t-shirts, and then what was the next stage on from t-shirts then?
So from t-shirts, we went into like natural progression, hoodies, sweatshirts, things that we could still print in-house. From there, we went into our life shorts, which is a super technical, lightweight, quick drying board short, essentially. And that's where we sort of really found our kind of first halo product, the thing that really cut through, the thing that really made it, made us stand out amongst all these kind of big brands. It really got us noticed. And that was the life shorts.
I mean, if anyone's ever been on a trip with any of our guides, I think every single one of our guides, apart from Dave, because Dave says they go below the knee, so he's a bit older, so he doesn't like that. But I think I've got 9 pairs of life shorts now, I think, in my wardrobe, and I know a lot of the other guides have got them as well. I mean, they are just the best shorts. I think that's all I've got, much to my wife's disgust, where that's the only thing I wear when I go out now.
I mean, thank you so much. I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where we set out to design a set of shorts. It was so early on in the Dewerstone story. I mean, we started in 2013. We started making the first live shorts in 2014. And we had no idea about margins. We had no idea about manufacturing. And we just went down this sort of like blissful ignorance route of, oh, yeah, no, we want that on the shorts. Oh, yeah, we want the pockets to be like this. We didn't really think why no one else did pockets like that. We would later find out that no one does pockets like that because there is so much more time involved in doing the pockets like that. Brands don't want to pay for it. They've got profit margins to hit. We didn't have that. We wanted to do this really cool closure. That takes time and it drives your cost price up. But we didn't think about any of that stuff because we were just blissfully ignorant, making the first amazing pair of shorts we could make. And, it just escalated from there, and it kind of set us on this path to just make things that we believe in, make it for us, make it because we want to have it, we want to wear it, and put your hope in that if you think something is important to you, it will also be important to other people. And I think the live shorts just really hit the nail on the head with that.
Yeah, I mean, they are just, like you say, they are the best traveling shorts, I think. Like, they are super comfy. They dry really quickly. And yeah, I think I was in Gozo last week scuba diving, and I think I had 4 pairs in my bag, I think, of different. And I like the fact that they're all different designs, and you can certainly have a lot of them in your suitcase without worrying about it.
And that's it. They pack down pretty small, and there's a couple of features that, whilst they're shorts made for water, they're great for travel. They're super lightweight, they're thin. The pockets fit your passport, they fit your wallet, they fit your phone, they fit your boarding pass. None of that is by coincidence. That is by design and extensive travel and wanting something for that exact situation, but not also wanting another set of shorts to go diving or swimming with later. When you travel a lot, you don't have a lot of space. If you're backpacking, you don't have tons of space, and it needs to dry fast. It needs to be good to go. And yeah, we made it with all those things that we wanted, regardless of what we thought anyone else would want. And yeah, it really did hit the nail on the head.
Dewerstone as a brand, I think, has some amazing values and the commitments that you as a brand do to help other people. Before we look at that, like when you originally set up Dewerstone, did you have those in your mind in the first instance, or have they kind of come as the brand's grown in terms of what you're achieving now?
They've came through time. So, when I first set it up, it was all about working for myself. The dream was to have this business that paid me and paid my bills, and I didn't have to work for somebody else. And after a little while, that becomes a given. I don't have to worry about that on the day to day. And we started out and we always made good choices. So when we started printing t-shirts in the garage, and you're buying t-shirts you can buy good t-shirts and you can buy bad t-shirts. You can buy regular cotton or you can buy organic cotton. There's always a choice. And we always made that good choice with respect to the people, the planet, and the product. We made the good choice from the start. So, we've always used organic cotton t-shirts. But as the business grew, and, I would say also, my awareness of the environment and what's happening grew, you find yourself in a position where you can do something. And at the start, that's maybe not financial. You don't have loads of money to go and spend fighting climate change, but you do have a platform and you do have a voice, and a brand has a community. And if you can rally that community around some of those values, you can start to make a difference. And then as we got bigger, we could make that difference, more of a difference, by adding money into the mix to do that, or adding services, or making things for people, or if one of the non-profits we work with needs something, we can then step in and help. And you really can't do that at the start. It is quite hard. But there are organizations out there that are starting to make that easier. So if people are starting businesses, they can join 1% for the planet. And that's 1% of whatever they make. So, if you make £100 a month, it's 1% of that, and you're all combining together to make a big difference. And that, I think that wasn't really around when we weren't aware of it when we started. But I think for us, it came on through time. And now the Dewerstone that everybody knows it's all about planet. It's all about environmental good. It's all about social good. And that's what the business has became. And that's not just led by me. That's led by the people that work here. And it's led by our customers. It's led by the Dewerstone community. People buy from Dewerstone because those values matter to them, and they want to align with them and align their spending with them, with us, because they know that we give back. We know we're doing good things. But it's, again, ultimately led by our customer base.
Yeah, because you're now B Corp certified, you're climate neutral certified. It's a great achievement for a business of your size, based on Devon, to get your B Corp quite quickly in terms of the time you've been in business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, B Corp is a huge accreditation. There's no stone left unturned. There are so many areas of it. There's so many things to go into. But ultimately, I think if people are interested in B Corp and they want to go for it, it is time, it is effort. But if you're running a good business, you will get through it. And we were already doing things that really helped before then. So we're 1% for the planet. We were climate neutral certified. We were planting a tree we still are planting a tree for every product that we make. And those things do help when it comes to B Corp certification. And there's a long way to go, but I think when you're on that, when you get your B Corp certification, it's very much seen as a journey. There's always room for improvement. There's room for collaboration. There's no B Corp business owner that if you phone their organization and it's just like, hey, I'd love to know more about B Corp, someone in that business has got time for the person on the end of that phone. It is genuinely one of those things where I believe that if every business out there was a B Corp, we wouldn't have most of the problems that the world currently has. So there can be no greater privilege than helping another business get on their own B Corp journey and helping them get through it. And we reached out when we were looking at it. We reached out to other B Corp, people who were already B Corps, and asked for advice, and they were all very, very welcoming, which is it's an amazing community.
Yeah, it's a journey. We're just starting at the Bucket List company now, because obviously as a travel brand, climate is hard as a travel brand when you're flying everywhere. So every little bit we can try and do to reduce that is, we don't want to stop traveling the world, because the world's there for us to explore. But at the same time, we have got to take into consideration, this climate issue that the world's going through at the minute.
Exactly. And I think, what we don't want to do is take away those things that we love and enjoy because of the fear that the world is ending. Actually, there are many, many things that are far more powerful that we could be doing that will make a much bigger difference than, for example, stopping flying or reducing our flights. A lot of things around money, what we're doing with our money, what we're doing with our pensions, that can have a much greater impact on climate change than something like thinking about not flying. And I think, that's a voice that's got to come out. And the more B Corps and the more people who are more aware of it, and, we can make huge changes in money, and that will change things. And so I think we can still do the things that we still love, we still enjoy, and, we can still make a big difference.
Yeah, because I think, when you look at the money that travel brings into the economy in foreign countries, like that just cannot stop for those countries. And, travel is such a huge part. And it's a really difficult one, I think, when it comes to climate change. And I think you're right. There's so much more that people can do. That just doesn't mean we're going to stop flying here and there.
Exactly. So, this is perhaps a great opportunity to talk about our shop in the Gili Islands in Indonesia. That shop came about because in 2018, there were some huge earthquakes, and I just left the Gili Islands. I'd been there for a little while, and the earthquakes hit, and the biggest impact was on tourism. So as soon as there were some earthquakes, people didn't want to go anymore. And all of the local people just lose their jobs. There's no tourism, there's no work. And so they've got no income, and they've got, houses that have fallen down. And, we at the time really weren't in a position to help. We could send a little bit of money, but we couldn't really do anything. And I had a few local friends out there that were really struggling. And I was like, the biggest thing I could do would be to build some Dewerstone infrastructure there. Start with a shop. We'll build a shop that will employ some local people. And then from there, hopefully there'll be some more shops, and there'll be a factory down the line. And, if the worst happens again, we'll be able to provide for, these people that we employ, and we'll be able to make a difference there. And then in 2020, we started building this shop. And, lo and behold, the COVID pandemic struck, and we had this part-built shop in Indonesia that we had all these, big plans for. And we had, one guy, Nazar, was employed by us. And he's been in continual employment with us throughout the whole of COVID. And in fact, he started using the store to distribute food parcels all over the Gili Islands and all over Lombok throughout the height of COVID. And then, our community here in the UK were buying T-shirts so that we could send that money out there, so that we could get food parcels, distribute them from the shop. And I think in the end, we ended up feeding over 10,000 people for the height of the pandemic. But more importantly, when, for me, the shop was already doing its job. Disaster struck again, and the shop was there. We had the infrastructure, and that shop will grow, and our business with Nazar will grow out there. And if and when disaster ever strikes again, there'll be more people that we can help, more people we can look after, because we've started building that infrastructure. And, that for me is kind of what Dewerstone is about. Dewerstone's community came together to help Nazar's community. And that's that's huge impact right there. But directly affected because of travel.
It's such an amazing story. Because you've got 3 shops, you've got two in Devon, and then you've got 1 in Indonesia. Whereas, with most brands, when they're improving their shops and growing their distribution, straight out to Indonesia from Devon's probably not the direction they're going to go in.
Yeah, I mean, we all know there's a personal side to that as well. I've loved the Gili Islands for a long time. I've loved Indonesia in general. It's such a beautiful place. There's so much to do that, it's a great place to have a store. But I mean, ultimately we make board shorts, we make T-shirts, we make sunglasses, we make caps. It's a great place for us to have a store. There is obviously a business angle with any business decision, and that one's, it has to work as a business idea. But that store really, really does kind of come down to that, people, planet before profit.
Yeah, I think that's right. And obviously there is a little perk that you've probably got to go out there a couple of times a year for board meetings and stuff, just to make sure they're running it properly and staff training, etc. Exactly.
And that's the thing. I was doing that already. I was spending plenty of time out there and that actually for me it becomes a base, it becomes a second office. It gives me a place to work from a place that I want to spend time in anyway, and a community that I really want to spend some of my time helping thrive. And it's a great place to be, whether you're working from a laptop or whether you're out there traveling. The Indonesia and the Gili Islands is a must see.
Yeah, it's actually one of the trips we're looking to launch next year. Actually, is heading out to Malaysia and Indonesia for a trip. So I'm super excited to go out, and I've never been, so I'm really excited to go out and have a look around.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll time it right, and you'll be able to come out to the Gili Islands, and we'll get some scuba diving in.
Oh, sounds perfect to me. I think we'll have to just organise that now. So
sounds good.
So what's next then in line for Dewerstone? What is the plan for Dewerstone as a brand?
So I mean, we've reached that stage now where more people know about us. You can find Dewerstone in more mainstream shops, and I think this year, coming off the back of the pandemic, and it's about not consolidation, but making sure we've got everything running as we want to. We're bringing out some new products this year. We've just brought out our first jacket, our first fleeces. We've got overshirts. So the product range is expanding. For us, it's about putting effort into our shops, making sure that we're helping as many organizations as we can, reaching out to more NGOs. We've always worked with Save Our Rivers and the Gili Eco Trust and Eden Reforestation. We've just started working with Ghost Fishing UK, and seeing how far we can really push and reach and make a difference, and look to amazing brands like Patagonia for inspiration. They've proved that you can have a successful billion-dollar business and still put people and planet first.
I was literally, just as you were saying that then, that was going to be my next question is, it just popped into my head about Patagonia then, especially after what they've done within the last sort of month or so. Do you aspire to be a Patagonia?
In many ways, I would say yes. They have proven that it is possible. They've trailblazed the fact that you can have a business that puts people and planet before profit, but still be profitable, still be a real business, but you can make a real difference. They've obviously just taken that ultimate step where, the company no longer belongs to an individual, and it belongs to a trust, and it only exists to put money back. But something that's kind of worth noting there is that, when businesses certify as B Corp, they change the DNA of their business. They make a commitment, a formal commitment, in terms of how their business is set up. So their business will always do good, and that it will actually take a big shift in shareholding from an individual person or a wide vote for that to ever change. So if you look at businesses like Ben & Jerry's or Dewerstone or Finisterre or whoever has their B Corp certification, they have this almost for good message within their articles of association, which means they're locked in. The business is locked into doing good in its very basic DNA of how it's set up as a business. And Patagonia just took that and times it by 11, like they do with so many other things. But that for me is the future. We've built the foundations. Dewerstone will always be a business that exists for good, no matter how big we get or what happens or how many stores we open or how many people we employ. We've got those B Corp values embedded so deep in what we do. We can only grow sustainably. We can only grow for the benefit of, again, people, planet before profit. And we've kind of done that now. We've set that up, and we're ready for that period of growth. And I think that will come in the next couple of years, where we scale, but we do it in a sustainable, responsible, community-focused way.
Perfect. I mean, since I've been doing this podcast, I've probably been listening to a lot more podcasts as well. And funnily enough, as I was climbing Kilimanjaro in September, I listened to, there's a podcast, go and listen to it, everyone. It's super interesting. But the really interesting one was it's called Business Wars, and it was about Patagonia and North Face and how they both came about and how they both had their journeys. And it's just a super interesting podcast. And the story of Patagonia is certainly worth listening to. So if once you finish listening to this one, you've listened to all our episodes of the BucketLister podcast, head over and listen to Business Wars, and listen to, I think there's like 5 or 6 episodes in the North Face Patagonia one, but I never realized that they actually both started off with the same person in the first instance, and they just both took 2 different directions in the end. So if you fancy listening to that, it's really interesting. Thanks ever so much, Rory, for coming on the podcast today. It's been super interesting chatting to you. Before we finish, I always ask all of my guests on the podcast about their bucket lists and what's still on yours. So what's left for you to tick off on your bucket list?
So, I mean, I've spent a lot of time in Indonesia and I spent a decent amount of time in Komodo, but I've never been diving there. So this last year, I've got really into scuba diving. So I think high on my bucket list is scuba diving in Komodo National Park and also Raja Ampat, which is just this, again, amazing area, beautiful area of Indonesia that I've not been to. So I would like to go sea kayaking in Raja Ampat, and I would like to go scuba diving in Komodo. There, 2 of my top places.
Perfect. And just give people where they can find Dewerstone. Where can they come and buy your products? Where can they find more out about you, when they, the things you do?
Cool. So you can find our stores in Princetown, middle of Dartmoor National Park. You can find us in Totnes in Devon. You can find us in Gili Trawangan in the Gili Islands in Indonesia, just off Bali. You can find us at dewerstone.com, and you can follow us on all the usual socials at Dewerstone.
Well, thank you ever so much. It's been great to listen to your story. And like I say, I've followed you right from the start. Next year, if anyone's coming to the outdoor show in Birmingham again, then we are right opposite the Dewerstone stand again, I think, with our stand. So you can come and have a chat with us, and you can come and have a chat with Rory and the team as well. So anyway, thanks ever so much for listening. Please do remember to give us a like and a follow. And if you really enjoyed this podcast, then please give us a 5-star review, because it does make a huge difference with Apple and the likes to push our podcast out even further. So until next week, thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the BucketLister Podcast. Be sure to click follow to be alerted for next week's episode. For more travel inspiration, check us out at www.thebucketlistcompany.co.uk or follow us on socials. See you next time.